Listen. Listen to the word spring. It means water rising from the earth. It means this season when the world begins again. It means to leap forward. It means a source, an origin, a beginning. One small world, one small word. This is the mystery of language. Yet it's also the science of language. Welcome to the Life of Words. My name is Professor David Morley, and today we are at Brandon Marsh Nature Reserve in Warwickshire. And this episode is called The Spring Where Stories Began. Standing here, I can see water, sunlight, stone, the movement of the trees. I could hear the sound of the birds. I could hear actually the very beginning of late summer migration, with the twittering and the gathering of swallows. But these things are real. They are enough in themselves, as are you, as are we all. And yet, everything and every place, just like here, has another life. The life we give it through memory, the life we give it through imagination, and the life we give it through story. So what gives this place a life in words? Well, a writer does not simply look at a landscape and describe it. A writer listens for what is there. And every place has a visible surface and invisible depths. Behind me, this lake is moving slowly into autumn. Hatchings are taking place. Pond skaters in their thousands are in the pond surface behind me, making mathematical courtship arrangements on the surface of things. For them, this is their entire life. This is their story. And for some, for not all, it's the end of a narrative too, and the beginning of a new one as they lay their eggs soon and life begins again for 2 years down at the bottom of this very lake. But places have this visible surface, and yet they have invisible depths. And perhaps that is why certain places stay with us. They're not only locations on a map, they become part of our inner landscape. Place can speak for itself. It's sure, it has a hidden life of language. Here, there's a hidden life of pond skaters and their speech of patterning on the surface, the speech of the wetland birds, the ducks, the goosanders moving on the surface, calling to each other, calling to their young, striking their territories and feeding, preparing for migration. Those are forms of speech and direction for those animals. Also is change, as language is change, and place and language together are a dynamic, transformative mix. Now, while I was making this film, I was interrupted by an angler who was determined to fish in this area and has moved on now. We had a good conversation about the history of this place and how not only was it a quarry once, it was actually a dumping ground for a concrete factory, and how the water behind me used to be stained white with limestone every single day. And actually the far side of this bank, the benthos, underneath it is a kind of a coating of cement. You would never think to see it now. The place has already transformed. And yet I know too from my studies that this place was once, a long time ago, a place where dinosaurs roamed, where actually underneath this benthos again, there's not just concrete, but also woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers. It's a place has long history, and it feels its history, well, not at all, really. It's a blink of an eye. But in those very descriptions, I have told you now 1, 2, 3 stories. And that angler who came down here just by coincidence told me that story and 1 or 2 other stories too, which have now entered my imagination. They've entered myself and transformed my perception of this lake and this place just by the power of storytelling, the retelling and exploration of its history. Simple place, of an apparently simple place like this lake in Warwickshire, has as much power as the well of Arethusa in Syracuse. It has as much mythology and story attached to it. It reminds us that imagination is not an escape from reality, it's just another way of entering it. Writers do not create meaning from nothing. They discover possibilities hidden within the ordinariness of this woodland, the ordinariness of the conversation I just held. Unscripted, unexpected. And a place like this can become a story, and then it becomes a myth, and by doing so offers itself open to becoming a poem, a construction of art made from words. It becomes part of our civilizations, and thousands of years later, it's like someone is standing beside me at this water, still listening. Perhaps that's what writing and language really are. They're a conversation that never ends. Before we finish, I'd like to thank you for listening and watching today. If you have any comments about the podcast, please could you leave them below. And also, if you could subscribe to the podcast, that would be great for my deciding to continue and develop this. I'd really like to expand this and bring in, higher production values, improvements of arcs and scripts. I'm quite happy with kind of writing and standing here and talking with you, but I think, you expect more and I want to deliver more, okay? And you participating in the podcast with me, that would really help. I'm also very happy to maybe even read and present some of your writing, should you submit it under in the comments. Before we finish, I'd like to invite you to write something. Here I am standing in a place that's important to me, and I've given you something of its history, its stories, and even some aspect of it being almost mythological, because this is also a mythological place. It's part of the Forest of Arden, like Hampton Wood was in a previous podcast. I want you to think of a place. Think of a place that has stayed with you. It might be a woodland, it might be a path, it could be a shoreline, it could be a hill, it could be your favorite garden, it could be your childhood home, it could be a field, it could be a churchyard, it could be a library, a view from a window. Think of a place. Now, begin your piece of writing with these words. This place remembers. Don't explain the place. Listen to it. Imagine what it might say if it could speak. And as I say, if you'd like to share what you have written, leave it in the comments. I generally enjoy reading them. I remember there was a film about John Keats starring Ben Whishaw called Bright Star, in which John Keats talked about poetry as not a means of looking or observing a lake, but of becoming the lake, of plunging into the lake to understand it. That's again that act of negative capability that I talked about previously. Now, I'm not expecting you to plunge into this lake, but to imaginatively plunge into that place that you have constructed and to make a story from it, and from that to make a life of words. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Thank you for watching The Life of Words, revealing the inner life of language through stories, through poems, and through writing across the world. If you'd like to see more of these episodes, please help by liking this channel and subscribing to the future episodes. Thank you so much. I'll be delighted to see you again as we continue the exploration of this world through words.